Hey, guys, how's it going? And welcome back to another live stream. In today's live stream, we're going to be talking about a serious subject. You know, Unfortunately, a serious situation that happened in Mexico. Some floods that basically devastated a good portion of the country. And we're going to be talking about that today. Again, just showing you images and showing you kind of like what's going on out there and all that stuff, and obviously taking questions and just talking about the situation. um yeah, to just bring more light to the situation, all right? Because I know there are a lot of questions out there, and I know there's a lot of people that are probably the first time they hear something like this happening, or they've been hearing about this but have no idea what's really going on out there. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I have a bunch of videos and information that I've kind of researched. The wife, Christian, my wife, she helped me out yesterday by looking for a bunch of videos and just information on the situation. Now, what happened? Let's just get into it real quick. But before we do, I just want to say hi to everybody and welcome in. Sorry if today's going to be a little bit of a, somber mood, a little bit. We'll try to keep it as chipper as possible. You know me, I try to stay positive and try to keep a good attitude and good vibes here all around. But sometimes things like this happen, and unfortunately, we have to talk about it. Again, at the end of the day, this channel is about me living out here in Mexico, and this affects everyone in Mexico. It doesn't matter where you're at. Simply put, some of you guys know out there, I live in the Yucatan Peninsula, which is pretty far away from the devastation. But still, it affects us here. It affects people in Tijuana, which is even further away from the devastation, simply because, well, again, everybody in Mexico unites and everybody is in it together. And again, everybody's just helping each other out, no matter where they are. Again, just like in the USA, might have some flooding in the Mississippi River. It doesn't matter if you're in New York or Florida or California or Washington State or Chicago. You're going to be helping out those people as best way as you can. Again, by at the very least, either talking about it or bringing light to it in case there isn't, donating, whatever it is. So, in today's episode, that's what we're going to be doing. We're just going to be talking about it. I'm going to tell you kind of what happened, what the situation is, and again, I know there's a lot of people that also live in some of these affected areas. Some of you guys, some people in the audience that might live in some of these affected areas. Whether or not they got affected by the floods, that's another story. But regardless, that's what we're here. We're just here to just talk about it, and that's it. Just shed some light on the situation. So, right there on the map, you get to see a little bit of kind of like the areas that were affected. That long state that's right there on the Gulf of Mexico, that is Veracruz. And Veracruz was apparently, from my information gathering, they seem to be like the ones that got affected the most. They got affected the most harshly, out of all the other states, and that's where a lot of the um, news and rescue efforts and all that has been concentrated in around, okay, the area of Veracruz. But it doesn't mean that other areas were also affected. They were not affected. And again, there were a lot of areas that were affected. So let me just show you the map of Mexico there. And as you guys can see, when you start to zoom in a little bit, you start seeing those little those whatchamacallit, those notifications from Google that there's flooding in areas and stuff like that. So let me explain, again, what happened. So apparently, several days ago, about a week ago, give or take, there were a lot of heavy floods. Okay, I'm sorry, a lot of heavy rains. Okay, and for some of you guys out there that might not know, Mexico, here, let me see if I can get it on the. There you go. Okay. Mexico, all right, is very mountainous. All right. You guys can see there. See, I live in Merida, Yucatan, all the way down there. Very flat, jungle, very similar to Florida, as you guys can see there, very similar to the northern part of, sorry, to the southern part of the U.S. there. But the most of Mexico, as you can see on the map there, is mountainous, very, very mountainous. In fact, a lot of people compare it to Afghanistan, meaning, again, how mountainous it is and how difficult and treacherous it is to just move about. Most Mexicans live up in, the mountain region. Oh, and, this region here, where you're going to find, Mexico City, Puebla, Guadalajara, right here in the central region. Okay. And what happened was that there was a lot of heavy rains in the region. Again, there's been a lot of heavy rains throughout Mexico, even in the USA. Again, you guys know for the last few months, every other week, give or take, when we do a live stream, sometimes we get interrupted by the storms or the rain. So there's been a lot of rain. It's been a rainy season. There's been a wet season out here in Mexico. After having many years of drought, again, a lot of that rain was welcome. So, most people were very happy with the rain, up until very recently when, again, you know how nature works. Nature is beautiful and amazing, but at the same time, it can be deadly. And this is one of those cases where the rains just got out of hand. So, from what I was explaining there earlier, again, most of Mexico's in the mountainous region. So, what happened was, from my understanding, is that the area of Mexico, this area specifically, got hit by a few storms, not hurricanes per se, but just storms. Almost hurricanes, but again, storms. Okay, heavy rains and heavy storms that basically affected the area here of like Puebla, okay, and these areas here around Mexico City. Again, even Mexico City has been flooded for the last few weeks, months, give or take. Some regions more than others, but Mexico City is a different story. Again, Mexico City, for those of you guys that don't know, Mexico City is a city that was built on top of a lake. So, the flooding issue there is a completely different story, regardless. Okay. I don't want to make light of it either. Flooding is no bueno no matter what. But, anyways, so a lot of the rain was concentrated in this region up here, up north, okay, in the mountains. And once we start to zoom in a little bit, hold on, let me see where. Okay, once you start zooming in a little bit, you start seeing, rivers and roads and stuff like that. But a lot of rivers. All right. You can see rivers. You see right there. Okay, right there where it says northern Veracruz floods. Um, Down here, I think this was the worst of it in this area here. Or wait, what was it? What was the worst of it? It was a play. I had it set up. I'm sorry, I moved around and I lost it. But anyways, hold on, where was it? Hold on, let me see. I think it was in Poza Rica. Okay, so Poza Rica was the area that got affected the most. Where is Poza Rica? I can't believe I just lost it. Oh my gosh. I'm the word. Okay. Regardless, so let's stick on topic. So, a lot of that rain started to flow downwards, down the mountain. Okay, and it happened very, very quickly, basically overnight. And so, long story short, as it was raining up in the mountains, all that rain started making its way down the rivers. The rivers in Mexico are not like the Mississippi River. They're smaller rivers, and there's tons of rivers. And again, as the water started to flow downstream from the mountains from all the heavy rains, it started to flood the rivers, and before you know it, everything was chaos. All right, so look, this is actually at 5:26 in the morning. Okay, this is just minutes before the tragedy. So you guys can see there, again, some people already started to get the alarm. Some people started to get word. Again, it seems like the National Weather Service and some of the government officials, they were a little late to warn people and to react to the situation, which obviously made it worse. Again, for anyone that's from the U.S., you know that we have similar situations in the U.S. from time to time, with the rains and the flooding and just really, really bad weather. But as you guys can see in that video, within minutes, okay, within minutes, everything started to just flood. Okay, 5:26 in the morning, and that's it. The lights are out. The rains, as you guys can see, started to invade homes and get into homes, and that was only minutes into the flood. Obviously, it got a lot worse as time went on. Um, and I'm going to put this in the background so we can kind of watch that while I talk about it a little bit more. But you guys can see a lot of the devastation that happened, because of that. And what really caused a lot of the devastation more than anything else, I think, was the fact that it caught everybody by surprise. And right now it's still too early, to be out here, politicizing anything or pointing fingers. Again, I am just an American living out here in Mexico, just sharing what life is like out here and the things that happen out here, to the best of my ability. I'm no one to start pointing fingers at anybody, because again, in the USA, we have similar situations like this. And when these situations happen, again, everyone's always also pointing fingers. And the USA, for example, is like, oh, how come FEMA didn't do anything? How come the president didn't do anything? How come the governor didn't do anything, or didn't do enough, or this or that? And everyone's just, finger pointing and blaming everybody. For me, originally, I'm from Miami, Florida. I'm from Florida, and down there, again, I don't know how things are these days, but when I was growing up and back in the day, anytime we had any kind of natural disaster, the state itself was very well equipped to deal with these things. In fact, we were so well equipped in Florida that many times, anytime that there was any kind of a emergency situation like this happening in other parts of the country, I remember, Florida would always send out their best, kind of workers, or emergency workers, or emergency personnel out to other places. Again, I remember it, constantly, happening when I was living there, and I'm sure it still happens. But regardless, as this was happening, you see, it happened all basically within hours. It happened so quickly, and it caught everybody by surprise. In fact, it caught so many people by surprise that some people just couldn't react in time. There are a bunch of how do I say this? What's the word I'm looking for? There are a bunch of reports of people that have said that whole schools, again, not with small children, schools like universities, whole universities and dorm rooms, dorm areas were completely flooded when people were sleeping in the dorms, and where there's hundreds of people unaccounted for. As of right now, it seems like the official numbers, again, as of kind of right now, it's around 66 deaths. I think it's a little more. I think this report is from a few hours ago or yesterday or something like that. So even though it says 66, I think it's a little bit more now. But again, those are the official numbers, but there's still unofficial numbers to say that it's a lot more than that. Okay, so just FYI on that real quick. So yeah, it affected the whole region, and you can only imagine in many of these places, as you guys know from watching my channel. For example, in many places where people own their homes outright, and they don't have to, again, living in Mexico, you don't have to get home insurance, you don't have to get flood insurance, you don't have to get anything like that. A lot of people were basically devastated. Those that survived, again, now have to deal with the fact that, well, again, you're looking at it right there. They're looking at the fact that, many places, everything was gone. Everything is just destroyed in their home. As you guys can see there, they're still cleaning up. Again, this is like right now. Okay, this is not from a while ago. These are images like maybe hours ago or yesterday or something like that. So this is all right now. I'm sure a lot of you guys that live in certain parts of the U.S. Know exactly what this is like. I myself have never been in anything kind of like this at all. I've been through hurricanes and I've been through other situations, but I've never been through massive flooding like this. Um, and for a lot of people in this region, in this area, they were also saying that the last time that anything even remotely close to this happened was in 1999. So that's like 26 plus years ago. So again, it caught so many people by surprise that are not used to this. Out here where I live, or in Florida and other areas where you might get hurricanes, and you might get certain weather situations. A lot of us are a little bit more prepared because we've been through these situations, on a more frequent basis. And on top of that, the infrastructure is more set up. So again, the fact that again it's a lot easier to prepare for a hurricane, for example, especially when you probably had one the year before or a few years prior, as opposed to how can you really prepare for insane, massive flooding like this when look at this. That's incredible. Look at that. How can you prepare for that when it just comes, out of the blue, and happens early in the morning, and nobody, by the time you realize what's going on, it's already way too late. And again, imagine having no insurance, having no kind of way to restore everything or clean everything up. Many people have lost everything that they've worked for their whole lives, and it's no bueno. Again, I know, a lot of these are just things and they can be replaced. And obviously, the lives that have been lost, during this situation are a lot, that's a lot more serious. You can never replace that. But still, at the end of the day, this is extremely devastating, as you guys can see from all the images there, as to what has been going on. And again, the hardest hit area is that area of Veracruz, which is Poza Rica. But from my understanding, please in the chat. I don't know where you guys are at. I don't know if you guys are in the U.S. or in Mexico, but if you are in Mexico and you have also been receiving devastating weather, please let us know. Again, we're just talking about the most affected area at the moment, but again, real quick, I want to show you on the map. Again, look at all these areas that have been affected. Okay, and just this region alone. Okay, and this is multiple states. I know it's a little hard to see from this map, but again, this is okay. So this is in the state of Veracruz. Right, hold on. No, no. Okay, there's Poza Rica. So this is the area that got affected the most. All right, and this is I'm guessing this is the river. You see, that's the river that got flooded. All right, so it's pretty devastating. In fact, let me see. Can I see? Is there a I don't think you can see it here, but some people were saying that you could see it in on the Google satellite, where they have actual live satellite images. But anyways, so you can see this river is the one that flooded, and you could kind of track the river all the way up to the mountains. So, but as I was saying, all these areas have been affected, and not just these areas here, but other areas. I've heard even all the way in Puerto Vallarta, which is literally all the way on the other side. Okay, it seems like out here as well. I don't know where, but I heard that out here there's also been heavy rains in Guadalajara area, Chapala. Um, Again, I was talking about Mexico City and so on and so forth. But as I was mentioning earlier, the devastation, most of the devastation was happening here in Poza Rica, in this area. This city was the one that was just basically almost wiped, off the map in a sense. Um, which is sad. But again, all these areas, see, it was all flowing again, all the way from. So the mountains are south, okay? So basically down below, all right? And it flowed up, okay? It flowed into all those regions and see how it flooded all those regions. But I'm guessing since this was one of the first places downstream, it's probably why it got affected the most. And it's also by the ocean. So you can only imagine. But yeah, horrible. Yeah, floods are terrible. Yeah, definitely no bueno for sure. Um, So sad. I think Poza Rica is up by Tampico. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. But like I said, I know it's Veracruz for sure. So I don't know. Tampico. Yeah, Tampico's all the way up there. You see? Oh wait, hold on. Can you see it on the map? Yeah, sorry, I got a bunch of things open here. So you got Poza Rica right above my head, and you see Tampico all the way up there. I'm guessing Tampico was like the capital, or that's the next state over. Okay, so again, Veracruz. All right, let's get back to the images here. All right, but anyways, in fact, let's go through some of these Facebook posts. All right, that Christian sent me yesterday. Again, helping me with the research. Okay, so this guy right here, this is the exact moment. It said, I'm going to translate what it says there. This is the exact moment that Don Chewy decided to activate the alarm at 5 in the morning. Um, this is the one that helped alert everybody in Poza Rica with the imminent flooding. and he did this without the was it without the permission of authorities, because apparently, again, I don't want to over politicize anything. I don't want to talk about politics or anything like that. All right, but long story short, there's been a lot of stuff involved. But anyways, he went above his boss's head, and simply they told him not to sound the alarm, and he went on ahead and sounded the alarm. And as it says right here, is like he's a hero without a cape. And he deserves everything. He deserves to be recognized, because if it wasn't for him, things would have been way worse. So again, this guy sounded the alarm. So here, let's click on the.
Dando la alarma, mi amor. Estamos tocando la alarma, mi amor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So let me see what else we got. So here we got some more. Look at this. This is October 11th. So it's 5 days ago. So I guess this happened last week. I think it happened. Again, I don't know the exact time when this happened. But I'm again, it happened last week. And I know I wanted to talk about this and cover it last week, but I think when it was happening, it was on Thursday or around that time, so it was still way too early. And again, I had no idea. I just kind of saw some images, saw some rain. I didn't really know, what was going on. It wasn't up until, this weekend and the days up, again, up until today, where this has all been blown up, all over Mexico. And, there's all kinds of people, again, like I was saying earlier, pointing fingers left and right as to who to blame or what have you. But again, I got tons of images. So this is an image of two elderly folk, seems like, husband and wife. And, you can see them there. They were just, holding on to dear life. And again, that's on top of an air conditioner. Just so you can understand, gonna understand. Okay, so that right there. By the way, a lot of these images are the first time I see them as well, because Christian sent them to me last night. I've been busy. I haven't really had a chance to take a look at a lot of these things. But this image right here is in pretty famous. Kind of became very viral across Mexico as one of the many images of the storm. But again, that thing that they're sitting on is literally an air conditioning unit. And I know that because I have them on my roof. So if they're sitting on top of the air conditioning unit, they're on the roof. I mean, imagine, just how high the water is. That's pretty crazy, right? So yeah, they're there. And I think, obviously they got rescued and stuff like that. But they were just stuck there. Because again, imagine just being, again, that age and not really having that much mobility or have the ability to swim or do anything, especially in that kind of those currents and that weather. But again, as you guys can see there, they got saved. Thank God for that. Let's see what other images we got. And then this one right here, this image. Here, I'm gonna let it play. I know it's in Spanish, but still, I think just how do I say this? Her voice alone should be enough to to basically let you know what's going on. So anyway, she is I think she's a student, okay, at the local university, the same local university that, again, there was like, again, from her, just in her class or her group, there was over 200 people that were just sleeping in their beds in their dorm rooms when all this happened, and nobody's heard anything from them. And that's just her group. It's a university. There's a lot more than just 200 people. And yeah, so she's just basically asking, like, where is everybody? Where are the bodies? Where is, what's going on?
¡Nuestros compañeros! ¿Dónde?
Hija, ¿cuántos estiman que estén sin localizar?
192 alrededor.
¿De las facultades
Solamente de ciencias de la salud de la parte de atrás, pero hay muchísimos que rentaban en otros lugares que también están desaparecidos y no nos dicen nada. Les han estado quitando las credenciales. Sus familias los han estado buscando. Nosotros como compañeros también. Pero ni siquiera nos dicen nada y todo ocultan.
¿Es cierto que los obligaron a venir a clases?
Sí, los obligaron a venir a clases. Algunos necesitaban irse a otros lados y ni siquiera pudieron evacuar. Muchos de nuestros compañeros y compañeras se quedaron durmiendo. No pudieron hacer nada y por más que intentaron correr, no pudieron hacer más. Y la gobernadora ni siquiera hace nada. ¿Dónde está su apoyo? ¿Dónde?
¿Cuántos son los alumnos que comentaste?
192. ¿Dónde están nuestros compañeros?
So again, I don't want to over politicize anything, but unfortunately, in today's world, that's how things are. Out here is no different, especially these days. And a lot of people are just saying, "Oh, she might be a propagandist," trying to go against the government, blah blah blah. Other people are saying the complete opposite. So again, everyone just kind of pointing fingers. But look, at the end of the day, all she's really just asking for is like, "Hey, where are all my colleagues? Every single one of the people that I went to school with, where are they? What's going on?" So that's basically what she's yelling about there. By the way, sorry about the audio. Let me know if the audio is a little better. I think I fixed it. Let me know. My apologies there. Yeah, I can only assume how loud it might have been on your end there.
Albergar a las familias que fueron evacuadas
Okay,
durante
so let's check this one out.
Durante la madrugada y la mañana de este viernes 10 de octubre de 2025.
So, anyways, yeah, I'm not gonna play the sound, but yeah, you know what I mean. Again, just trying to show you more images of the devastation. And again, guys, you guys know, from any time that anything like this happens, one thing is, when the actual event happens, the devastation, the actual disaster is happening. But another thing is afterwards, when it comes to the cleanup. Again, I don't know who it was. I know somebody in the comment section in one of my videos a few months ago, or sorry, weeks ago or days ago. I don't know. I can't tell. It's just got so many things always going on at the same time. But I remember somebody was mentioning the fact that when those hurricanes hit the USA and they hit the Appalachian area and they hit the Carolinas and all that stuff, and how, again, very similar situation to what you're looking at right now, and a lot of those areas are still devastated. They're still messed up. I remember a few years ago, I want to say 2 years ago, maybe 1 year ago, I can't really remember if it was 1 year ago or 2 years ago, where Acapulco got hit, I think, by a hurricane. I think they got like a head-on collision with a hurricane, and they also got devastated, just like you're looking at there right now. And again, they were able to recover fully, from my understanding. Acapulco made a very quick recovery. So again, the idea is that unfortunately, again, right now, a lot of finger pointing as to whether the government is going to step up, federal government, local government, stuff like that. As you guys already know from watching my channel, many Mexicans, most Mexicans, do not trust, nor do they rely on the government. And these are, again, just another one of the thousands of reasons why. And so, again, at the end of the day, the people that are picking up the pieces, cleaning up, fixing everything, and eventually going to bring everything back to where it was, are going to be the people. That's it. It's as simple as that. And this is why I'm actually doing a video like this, because it's just trying to get the word out. Because again, this is why I was telling you that this is affecting all of Mexico, because it doesn't matter what part of Mexico you're in. You're either going out to the region, to help out, or you're sending supplies, or you're sending money, or whatever it is you're doing. Everyone is basically right now, working together in order to help out, the people out there in these affected areas at the moment. Because again, there's a lot going on, and there's been reports of influencers, YouTubers, and people like that, famous Mexicans, so on and so forth, that have made their way to the region in order to give away, help, relief, give away food, clothes, water, all these things. And some of them have been rejected by the federal government. Other cases, the federal government has taken that help and said, okay, thank you so much for bringing this. We're going to distribute it ourselves. We want to be the heroes. that kind of stuff. So there's been a lot of that going on. Even the cartel, the cartel's taking advantage of it. They don't miss an opportunity. They've been, recorded multiple times in many of these regions, affected areas, basically cleaning up, handing out supplies, helping victims out, and doing a lot of the rescuing and cleaning up and all that other stuff. So, again, this is, again, it's a complicated issue because think about it, like right now, you're in a situation like this, the federal government leaves you, basically high and dry, and then, some faction, so the bad guys, show up, and then they're the ones that save you. So then think about how the people are going to start feeling, about the people that actually showed up to help. Now, again, it's a complicated issue. No one helps for free. There's always something, that they're going to have to, pay back and return or whatever. But, just want to give you the reality of what things are like out here in those regions that are affected by this right now. So, again, to me, as an American, knowing how things are up there as well, even when FEMA shows up, even when the National Guard shows up, even when the government is doing everything humanly possible to better the situation, there's always going to be people that are going to be affected, and they're always going to be, complaining or what have you. It happens even in Florida, where they have a really, really good response to all kinds of emergencies, because the thing is that, it's hard to understand unless you've been through something like this before. I myself have never been through flooding like this, but I've been through hurricanes. I've been through many hurricanes, especially living in Miami. Out here, I've been through hurricanes, not really anything to write home about. But in Florida, I mean, I've been through hurricanes. I mean, namely Hurricane Andrew. We also got hit by a hurricane right before Katrina. So when Katrina hit New Orleans and they devastated New Orleans, we got hit by a hurricane that devastated South Florida as well. Nobody talked about it because Katrina was so bad, and I could go on and on. So I mean, I've been through situations. I've been without power, for weeks on end, or a month or more, or difficult to get water or gasoline or food or what have you. Again, being from Miami and out there, we're just more prepared for things like this. Think again, when it gets really bad, it's bad. And what happens is that even though there might be help, right there or on the way, or again, you're still, you're getting supplies, you're getting whatever, a lot of people just get very, very, that not just desperate. What's the word I'm looking for? They get hysterical. Because think about it again, you've been already, you got hit by the flood or the hurricane or whatever it is, out of the blue, and then, you have no food, no water, you lost everything, and then, when help finally shows up, they're just giving you a little water or a little food or a little bit of help, because there's so many people that have been affected by the situation, and there's so little supplies and so little help out there, that again, a lot of people start getting very desperate, and they start, it doesn't end well sometimes, but long story short, this is same as it ever was, you know what I mean? Like, meaning anytime there's any kind of like major emergencies, there's always issues on both ends. Okay, thank you so much, and thank you so much, guys, in the chat, for letting me know about the audio. I'm glad it was fixed. Sorry about the earlier portion of the show with the loud audio. All right, let's check out some more
Es el
videos
día
here.
5 de esta
This is day
tragedia
5.
en Poza Rica, Veracruz. Por aquí, por esta calle, salió el río Cazones, y a 5 días de esta devastación que ha provocado hasta el momento 29 víctimas oficialmente, pues este es el panorama que priva en las calles. Es realmente, pues, devastador, desolador, y todo lo que hay en la calle, además del lodo y el agua que llega casi a la rodilla, pues son todos los enseres domésticos, colchones, refrigeradores, los closets, libros, computadoras, televisiones. Todo lo que hay dentro de un hogar, pues aquí está perdido. Aquí está
That's just insane.
completamente, pues, hecho añicos todo este fraccionamiento. Gaviotas, una
I don't know if you guys can see it there, but you can even see the water line, the water level. I mean, it was over a story. That's
de las zonas
that's
más
big. That's a lot.
devastadas.
That's a lot.
Y
That's
bueno,
like,
los vecinos nos
I
han
mean,
dicho
I'm guessing, what's that, 10 feet or more up there? You can see like the water line. That's
Que aquí también
it's
lamentablemente
crazy.
hubo decesos, hubo fallecidos. Y este es el panorama, en verdad que dramático. El caminar por esta calle en el día 5 todavía con el lodo, porque estoy caminando prácticamente es una nata de agua, de olores fétidos, con los días que ha estado soleados.
Yeah, that's another thing too. So a lot of people are basically complaining about the fact that, again, as the standing water has been, hanging around for days, now all of a sudden, people are starting to get diseases. They're starting to get sick, and as things are starting to deteriorate even further. Because again, imagine being in that water for so long. Again, your body, how it reacts to just being wet for so long. On top of the fact that, again, how many dead animals, um, humans, how much, food. For example, every single one of those homes had a refrigerator. All those refrigerators got spilled open. All that food is spoiled and all over the place. I mean, you can only imagine. In fact, I don't think any of us can really imagine the smell. On top of like the disease and all this other stuff
Pues
that's also
es el
happening.
panorama. La mayoría de la gente está en casa de vecinos, de familiares, en albergues que se han dispuesto aquí.
And saying that most of the people, again, this is 5 days after the event, so probably a couple days ago. But he says that at this point, so this is probably like over the weekend. He's saying that a lot of the people have left. Unfortunately, they went to places, like shelters, nearby. They went to family or friends' homes nearby. Perhaps in another city or another region of Mexico. Obviously, has not been affected to this extent.
Pero por ejemplo esta calle,
Look at that.
miren esta calle cómo se encuentra. De verdad que es épico esto. Es dramático. Una calle bloqueada por
Wow.
colchones, por muebles.
Yeah, basically saying like how, all these streets are now kind of blocked off and they're creating like little lakes and things like that because they're blocked off with, again, furniture and mattresses and all kinds of stuff, that have basically flown out of people's homes, floated out of people's houses.
Y nos dicen que la ayuda aquí no ha llegado y obviamente es evidente, aquí no se ve en presencia
And he's basically saying, he's like, yeah, we're 5 days in and we have yet to see any kind of emergency worker or anyone out here helping us out
ni del ejército ni de marina porque están en otras zonas.
because they're in other zones.
Y el argumento nos decían que aquí todavía está pues inundado.
And they're saying, it's like, oh, well, this, that area is still underwater, so there's no reason for us to go out there. That's what the National Guard and the military have been telling the citizens of that area.
Esperan y pide la gente que las autoridades ingresen a la brevedad a estos lugares en el día 5. Este panorama completamente desolador.
It's rough, man, rough. Wow, look at that. It's like a ghost city, like a ghost town, like a bomb exploded there. Wow. Now let's check out another video.
De invitarme un taco de en el estado de Veracruz. Hace días se registraron fuertes inundaciones en la zona norte del estado de Veracruz. Lugares como Poza Rica, Tuxpan, Álamo y diferentes comunidades de estos municipios quedaron bajo el agua. Tristemente, muchas personas perdieron sus coches, sus casas, todos los patrimonios que habían construido con mucho esfuerzo, sacrificio, y durante años todo se perdió. La vida les cambió de un día para otro, y es por ese motivo que como hermanos veracruzanos nos unimos a crear un centro de acopio en la ciudad de San Andrés Tuxtla, Veracruz, donde quiero agradecer a todos los héroes anónimos que donaron víveres, llevaron ayuda, ya que sin ellos esto no hubiera sido posible. En 2 días recaudamos
Yeah, so there's basically just saying thank you to all the people from the or surrounding regions and all the other parts of Mexico that have stepped up and been helping out by sending supplies or coming out here to distribute supplies and all that stuff.
aproximadamente más de 1,5 toneladas de ayuda. Cargamos todos los víveres en la camioneta y nos fuimos hasta la zona norte del estado de Veracruz, más de 10 horas para llegar hasta Álamo, Veracruz.
And so basically, they were like 10 hours away and they were able to gather all those supplies, all that stuff, and then they drove 10 hours to the affected areas.
Municipios más afectados. La idea era pasar a Poza Rica, pero tristemente no nos dejaron pasar. Al llegar a Álamo el panorama era devastador.
Yeah, so basically when they got there, the military and other forces did not allow them to pass, and so therefore
La ciudad fue inundada en un 90%, sin contar sus localidades que aún siguen incomunicadas, sin señal y sin luz. Son imágenes muy fuertes. Casas, negocios, coches, todo fue arrasado por el agua.
De verdad son imágenes muy devastadoras. Álamo, Veracruz, quedó devastado por
yeah, so that's Alamo, Veracruz. Okay, so I'm guessing that's close by, but again, the Alamo, kind of crazy, huh?
esa inundación.
But yeah, I guess that's some influencer or something. One of the ones that was trying to give supplies out to the people and was denied access to give supplies out.
Está canijo, mi gente. De verdad, Álamo necesita ayuda. Ya vimos que gente está llegando, pero aún así falta muchísima, muchísima ayuda. Está pesado, así que pues para toda la flota que está viendo este video y quiere mandar ayuda, vénganse a Álamo y a sus localidades cercanas. Miren nomás, es impactante.
Todos los víveres que se recolectaron fueron entregados de manera personal, aunque lamentablemente eran insuficientes. De verdad.
Yeah, so basically they said since, they weren't allowed to pass to the most devastated areas, where they were heading originally, obviously they saw, there was a lot of people that were in, huge need of the supplies and the help that they were bringing. So they went on ahead and they were just giving away to the people that they just, they saw and they needed it. And as they were giving away the supplies, they immediately realized that it's not even close to enough what they brought. They thought, they had like almost 2 tons of supplies. And like I said, once they started distributing it, they realized, oh, wow, it's like a little blip compared to what's really needed out here.
Falta mucha ayuda en Álamo y sus comunidades.
So basically saying is, there's still a lot of help that needs to, people still need a lot more help. And, obviously we're just at the very beginning of it. And I noticed someone in the chat said, guessing that they're still in rescue mode and not cleanup mode. Yeah, so again, depending on the region, depending on the area, you got to remember too that some of these videos are not like from right now. You know what I mean? Some of these videos are from a day ago, maybe 2 days ago, give or take. And depending on the region, as you guys saw from the map earlier, some areas, have been devastated more than others. Some have are still underwater, others not underwater anymore, and so it's just of the show. So let me just quickly show you again the areas that got devastated. So the long state there, that's right on the coast, that's the state of Veracruz, and that is the state that got affected the worst. That's where a lot of the images are coming from. But the areas that got affected were, again, Puebla, Hidalgo, San Luis Potosí, and Querétaro. So all those areas. And I know there's some people, I mean, I reached out to friends of mine that live in some of those regions, and thank God that everybody's okay over there. And as I was explaining earlier in the show, remember Mexico is very mountainous. And since it's very mountainous, again, what happened was that like a lot of the rain happened in the mountains, and it was just very, very heavy rain. 72 hours, from my understanding, just 72 hours of straight rain, and all that rain just went downhill into the rivers, and that's it, just devastated everything. Yeah, it didn't give anyone a chance to be able even to react.
Está pasando.
Oigan, fíjense, desde Caristay.
And so those are locals there that are just basically, again, they had the supplies that they had, and they're, making tacos or making food for the people. So again, those are the locals that also got affected and lost everything. But they still had some supplies, something to make food, and they were just making that food and giving it away to the people in the, their neighbors basically. So Narud Jalu says there's a nuclear reactor right on the coast there. How can we find out about its condition? Look, the nuclear reactor is fine. Again, this is just regular flooding. This is not Fukushima. Okay, it's not what happened there. All right, so don't worry about that. As far as I understand, again, I have no idea. That I don't even know that Mexico had nuclear power plants. But I would assume that they're okay. Because again, those nuclear power plants, especially if you said that's right on the coast, it's fine. What got affected, or again, just look at the map. So look, this is Poza Rica right there. That's like the main area that got affected. But again, it's just a small city, and that river right there, that river is the one that got flooded and basically flooded everybody out. You see, there's water, floods. Okay, there's rivers, that kind of go in there, and then all those rivers, they're coming from, right here, basically right that region there. So it started raining right here and it flowed from there all the way that way. All right. And as you guys can see on the map, let me see. You see, these are all the areas. So again, it started to rain. A lot of the heavy rains were happening here in the Puebla area, there. All right to my right or my left, depending on where you're looking at me from. And then basically it all just flowed downhill. All right. And all those areas got affected. Obviously, the further away, from the mountains, the less affected it got. But it seems like, a lot of the areas, the heaviest hit areas were the areas right here in Veracruz. But again, all these areas got affected. Okay. So very, 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 very rough, to say the least. All right, let me see. What other videos? Okay, this one.
No es nada, 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 absolutamente nada comparado con la realidad. El olor es putrefacto.
Okay, so there she's talking about like how bad the smell is, the infections. You get to see it for yourself as well. It's really bad. And there's sayings like if you're gonna come out here, just be sure to prepare adequately. Whether it's have antibacterial gel, put on a mask, put on gloves, whatever it is, because it's just disease everywhere and all kinds of. Again, you can only imagine how putrid that water is by this point. Not good, no bueno.
Amigos, miren,
So here is traffic trying to get into that area, and up ahead they're starting to get blocked out by the military. But again, you get to see like the power of the people here. Basically the Mexicans are saying, yeah, forget the military, forget these people, just power through, just drive through, whatever.
Qué insensatos, porque estamos tratando de pasar y efectivamente son ellos los que no dejan pasar, son los soldados. No alcanzo a ver si es Sedena o si es la Marina, pero son ellos los que no están dejando pasar las... Sí. ¿Ya vieron? Son ellos los que no dejan pasar. Ellos. Ahí está. Sí. Aquí van.
En las últimas horas, ciudadanos que buscaban llevar víveres y ayuda humanitaria a zonas afectadas.
And he was just explaining the situation, how difficult it has been to distribute help in some regions.
La gobernadora de Morena no está dejando entrar el apoyo a Veracruz. El pueblo de México, tan solidario como siempre, ya empezó a organizarse para ayudar a nuestros hermanos y hermanas.
So he's basically saying, it's like, the governor and the government is not doing anything, so we're out here organizing and just, pushing through and just forcing it and just, again, giving the help to the people that need it, and that's it, and fighting with authorities in order to do so.
A menos que los apoyos se los entreguen a su gobierno, pero ellos lo ponen todo en bolsas de...
But anyways, but again, there's a little bit more on the political side of things. See, that's what they're saying. That's what they're claiming is like, yeah, all they want is they want the supplies to be given to the government officials so that the government officials can put it in a bag, with the political party. Okay, so that is what's given to the people. Again, just political Again, just imagine like the floods were happening in the USA and all the help was being blocked off because it has to be, given in Trump bags or Biden bags, So terrible, right? But hey, it is what it is.
Camioneta de 2 millones de pesos.
All right, so I guess that's the governor or the people in power, and then the people are just not happy. Anyways, all right, let me see what else we got here. And then same thing here. Basically, they're saying we need help. We need the military engineers, whenever we need this water to flow, we need the cleanup to start happening. The reason that there's still water everywhere is because it has nowhere to go and it's just stuck here, and we need help to get rid of all that and so on and so forth. It's like we need tractors and we need heavy equipment in order to start the cleanup process and things like that. So yeah, it was rough. So again, you guys can see there, more images of what's going on. Omar says it has been happening a lot lately. Almost all parts of Sonora, Mexico, lots of flooding, very bad. They're saying that Hermosillo now has more water than it was before the water shortages. So again, that I was explaining that earlier. Again, in the last several years, there's been droughts, in many parts of Mexico. Even out here where we have a lot of water in the Yucatan, even out here, things were getting a little dicey because it was just so dry for years. And then all of a sudden this year, we've seen record rains throughout all of Mexico. And again, imagine in other parts of Mexico where there's deserts, how all this rain has affected. So again, I was talking about that earlier. Thank you for bringing that up because again, I'm not sure about every part of Mexico. I know a lot of Mexico has been affected. Hold on, where was the map? Okay, so again, Sonora. Sonora is like all the way on the other side, right? No, that's Sinaloa. Where is Sonora? Yeah, no, I think Sonora is up here, right? Yeah, there it is. See, there it is. So, this region again, a lot of regions have been receiving a lot of rain. So again, Sonora, again, think about it. Hermosillo, is right here in the desert. So these areas have been receiving a lot of rain, a lot of flooding. I know, again, like I was mentioning earlier, people talking about it in Puerto Vallarta, in Chapala, Ajik. The last few months, Guadalajara, Mexico City was underwater as well, many areas. And again, a lot of the rain that caused the flooding, again, happened in this area right here. Again, from Puebla, Mexico City, this whole area here, that whole area right there, that is where a lot of the rain was happening. And again, they were affected as well. But since they're up in the mountains, as the flooding or whatever would happen, a lot of it would just flow downhill. So they were only affected for a small amount of time compared to the people that are downstream where a lot of the water basically rushed. Again, here, I'll show you the video again. You get to see it there. Basically, within a matter of minutes, the streets became a river, and that's it. There's just devastation all over the place. And so like I was just saying a few minutes ago, in many of these areas, the water just still has no place to go, and it's just stuck there. And that's kind of like where we're at right now with all that stuff. So yeah, yep. But you can see there, as it starts to, look, you see the water, the car is coming out of the garage, and then, before you know it, the garage is already filled with water. See that same garage, you see? Look at that. And this is just minutes. Hey, people are already on the roofs, people are already, look, the lights just went out. So, yeah, not good. No bueno.
It arrived.
Oh yeah, this is in English. Here, I think this is like an English translation. You can watch this for a minute.
It arrived, as these natural disasters do, suddenly and with devastating force, the water that is life, but also death. And because of the flooding in Poza Rica, its residents know it.
Well, look, on Thursday it rained a lot, and where I live, the neighborhood from the end to the end was already flooded. That area usually floods. So we heard that it was already flooding down there and that the river was trying to overflow. All Thursday we were watching how the river was rising, and suddenly at night we heard that it was getting closer. It was getting closer to every street in Cativa, the water advancing. So at 2 in the morning, the civil protection trucks began to arrive to evacuate people, requesting that the streets and houses be evacuated and inviting the neighbors to leave. At that moment, we started climbing as much as we could, but obviously, between the pressure, the nerves, I have a baby, so we climbed as much as we could, grabbed some groceries, packed my suitcase, grabbed my dog, my cat, and we left.
All that mud.
The water started to rise at 5 in the morning when we were already outside, but it was apocalyptic. It rose very quickly. Every 10 minutes it rose. According to Civil Protection, it went from 730 to 780.
Meters, I'm guessing.
From there to 8 meters.
Yeah.
It didn't give you time to do anything very quickly.
And by the way, just to give you a little perspective,
Obviously,
just to give you a little perspective on meters, okay? I am 6 foot tall, all right? And I'm like a little under 2 meters, okay? So if it was up to 8 meters, I mean, 8 times 6, right? No, wait, 8 times, 8 times 6, right? No. 8 times 4, I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna do the math. But anyways, it's a lot of rain, okay? It's a lot of flooding, okay? You can only imagine.
when you see the water above you, panic sets in and we can't take shelter from there, and all we can hear is people who stayed, who didn't want to get out or who got stuck, and it's already halfway up the first level. It's already risen 1 meter. It's already risen 1.5 meters. From my neighbors towards the back, the 2-story houses were covered. I mean, it was too much. From the tragedy that October brought disaster and death, like what happened in Spain a year ago with the Dana. But now in 2025, not only in one city like Valencia, but in 5 states and a city, Poza Rica, Veracruz, which has become the image of destruction. If I'm not going to lie to you, they did start warning us to evacuate, but unfortunately many didn't want to leave because there was already looting. We live in such an insecure society that people preferred to stay in their homes because no one imagined it would reach so fast and so high. This is historic. It reached areas where the water had never reached before. The center was flooded, areas where it hadn't reached before. It reached a very high level.
Wow, the center was flooded. Okay, so let's just look at the map real quick, okay, so you guys can see. So this is apparently, again, this is the main river, okay, that got flooded, okay, all the way out here. So the center, where would be the center? I guess this is the center here. So again, all this area got flooded. Everything just got destroyed. They got, devastated. So the center of the city is here. I'm guessing. Hold on. Let me double check. Yep, all right. Oh, yeah, so all that devastated. There's another river there through there as well. I'm sure that yeah, see, look, the same river. Yeah, look at that. You see all those little rivers, kind of like flowing from the main river. So you can only imagine all these areas. They got flooded. And again, it's not like a small little town, guys. This is like, look at this. Look, all this is, this is what it looks like, okay, normally. All right? It's not like it's just like a tiny little town in the middle of nowhere. No. It's a big, major metropolitan area. All this was flooded. In fact, right now as I'm kind of like going through here, it's like, man, I think I've seen some of these images already. You know what I mean? Like, but only with the cars all turned and everything all muddy and devastated. So, wow. Yeah, you can only imagine. Here, let's just go down one of these streets here so you guys can see. Oh, no, that's like a bank. All right, hold on. Let's just pick like some random street there. Yeah, so all that, like, think about it. All this got flooded, devastated. It's kind of nuts, huh? Wow.
I lost my entire first floor, everything, living room, dining room, kitchen. I had a study, computer, everything, a bedroom downstairs. My relatives, a relative who lives 2 blocks away, lost everything on 1 floor of their house. I have an uncle on the other side. He already reached the 2nd floor, I think 1 meter from the 2nd floor. In other words, the water had never reached this level. It is said that Alamo, which is a municipality that is next door, lost practically everything. Those affected by the floods have not only had to face displacement from their homes, tragedy and anguish, but also abuse due to scarcity. My husband has friends who live in Alamo. They lost their two-story house, their cars, everything. One person said that he climbed onto the roof and jumped to other houses because the water reached above his roof level and it is 2 stories in his house. After that, they did indeed notify us to evacuate. The water level rose, then went down, and in the afternoon my husband was able to go in to see the house and no one came. That was Friday. We have acquaintances who stayed on their roofs for 24 hours,
Wow.
but no one came.
Wow.
We learned that they came from here from the Filibobos Rapids, from here from Martinez de la Torre with their boats to help get people trapped off their roofs. Very supportive people who help get people out, but no one from the government.
Yeah, what she was saying about the rapids. So again, Veracruz is a beautiful state. Again, waterfalls, all kinds of stuff like that. So again, apparently a lot of people they have like the tourist boats or boats in some of those areas, where the anyway, so they brought their boats out to the region. Again, to an area where why would they even have boats out there? But just again, that's the only way that they could get around. Wow.
In fact, the government only showed up yesterday afternoon, but people are getting out as best they could. They came to help, they wouldn't let them through. Today is Tuesday, Sunday, they wouldn't let people through the roads with the aid because they wanted to monopolize all the aid so that the government would deliver it. Nothing arrived here immediately. Everyone was waiting outside with food parcels, with help, with materials, because there are no shovels, no gloves, no raindrops. Here's something to emphasize. Poza Rica, being an oil city, is contaminated with hydrocarbons.
Oh, I did not know that. Yeah, so Veracruz, just for people that don't know, Veracruz and this whole area of the Gulf, there's a lot of oil. Again, the country. Yeah, again, Mexico has oil just like the USA. Very energy independent in that region, in that regard. But long story short, all along the coast, all along the Gulf Coast here, from Tabasco going up, through Veracruz, as you can see Veracruz there. There's a lot of oil refineries. I mean, I'm sorry, oil. Those hey, man, what do you call it? Those oil rigs in the middle of the ocean, and there's oil. There's just oil out there. So imagine now again all that petroleum, all that oil. Also all that stuff from underground. Also getting mixed in with all that stuff. So wow, pretty rough.
It smells like rotten eggs and the air has oil in it.
Wow.
The water isn't just water, it's water with mud, with hydrocarbons. On Thursday, we heard that 1 or 2 Pemex pipelines exploded with hydrocarbons and that's what entered the city.
Wow. So Pemex is, the oil refinery, the oil company, like imagine like, damn, what's a oil company in the US right now? But like, yeah, basically, the oil pipelines burst, wow, that's crazy. I did not know that.
It's not just the water that devastated us, but also that this water is contaminated.
Wow. I did not know that.
My husband comes from cleaning with his family who are supporting us, neighbors, very supportive people from other regions like Papantla, but they risk getting contaminated and infected. The water didn't just affect the houses, streets, and avenues. It also brought what even the current wouldn't dare to bring, but also the abusive merchants, the high cost of goods due to the lack of products.
Yeah, a lot of price gouging,
Sure,
obviously.
there is a shortage because the central supply center flooded, the market flooded, and areas where there is food flooded, and the food arrived contaminated with mud.
Wow.
I saw it, no one told me. Tomato racks full of mud that were cleaned, and that's how they want to sell them to you. Very expensive, 120 pesos for a jug of water. I mean,
Wow.
120 pesos. Yes, yes, yes. I'm not lying to you. People are doing it. Just as there are very good people, there are also 120 pesos for a jug. They try to sell you vegetables that barely survived. You can find a bag of beans covered in mud. So yes, I mean, there is a shortage of flour. They are managing bread, rolls, whatever to help feed people, cakes, whatever there is. No, there is no flour. They are rationing flour at the moment. I don't know how much has passed, but this was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we were all in uncertainty. There was no food, there was a shortage, they were managing, because the people who only sold you 1 kilogram of tomatoes, bread rolls, well, I don't think there was any until the other day.
Rough.
Well, Costa Rica had a flood in '99. Very devastating, but this was historic. Another issue, in '99 there was no wall to help keep the Casones River from entering the city. Unfortunately, that wall has not been maintained, and in this flood it disappeared.
Wow, it sounds very similar to like kind of what happened with Katrina. So basically, back in 1999, when they had a devastating flood similar to this, they built a like, kind of like a retaining wall, to retain the water in case the the river over flooded again and stuff like that. And it's been built for 20 years and or more, and nobody's maintained it, and thus, well, just like in Katrina, the dam burst and made it worse, apparently. Wow.
There are parts of the wall that are no longer there that help the water to come in more or faster.
Wow.
The way it rose was terrifying. I
So
have
that-
some cousins who lost everything,
Yeah,
like a
that's-
2-story house, but the speed with which the water rose was
Yeah, that's why it was so much worse now than it was back
terrifying.
then.
I'm
Wow.
not lying to you.
Wow.
I go out on the street and see all the cars covered in mud. There is not a car that is not covered in mud. The main boulevard is full of mud and is getting saturated. Obviously. Everyone wants to get through and help, but they can't. There's no coordination or organization from the government. Yeah, no one imagined the level of contingency that this would cause. The water reached the second floor. That had never happened to them before. I'm not even telling you about the neighborhood in the back, where they lost everything. It disappeared. Do you watch videos on the internet? I mean, I'm not lying to you. You can go to Facebook and search for Costa Rica flood, and there are videos where there were houses, that is, they bubble and tell you, there was my house and here was my car, and they show you a house.
Wow. Look at that.
This house has 3 floors and you can see a piece of the 3rd level. It was torn apart. It
is
completely covered by water. It is underwater, under mud and under hydrocarbon contamination, which is the most dangerous thing. Right now there is no public servant sweeping, helping people take out their things, their trash, right? The trash from their homes, and the mud. There are many who are asking for support, who are alone, who have no way of contacting their relatives, who cannot come or do not have any, and there is no hope for them. In light of the tragedy caused by the flooding in Parrica, Veracruz, Brenda is asking for 3 things. That they maintain the mud, which serves as a containment for the Cazones River, and that they empty all the drainage so that the water and mud can drain away. Go and remove the piles of garbage. And most importantly, do not hoard aid. Those are the ones waiting far from home, and it is up to the government to fulfill it.
Wow. Rough. Here, so this guy here.
¿Qué demonios pasó en Veracruz? Sin temor a
So basically, he was just explaining,
equivocarme,
what I was explaining earlier about the storms and all that rain and everything that I told you guys earlier. But I think here in the video, there was a few spots.
los centros de acopio oficiales.
All right.
Aquí están, aquí te los dejo, los encontré en esta cuenta de Instagram. Igualmente una seguidora me mandó también.
So those are all the places for help, okay? So, in case anyone wants to help.
Información que en su casa están recibiendo apoyo e incluso mandó una cuenta de banco. Aquí tienes su perfil. La naturaleza es prácticamente omnipotente y nos dio una demostración con esto. Como mexicanos tenemos... Aquí están los...
All right, I don't know if you guys can see there. Man, I wish I could. Anyways, but yeah, those are all the places. I guess those are all. I mean, I don't think any one of us can really help per se. There's not like places you can send money that I know of that I trust or send supplies. It's only if you're out here, you can go out there and help or what have you. But yeah, man,
centros de
rough, rough,
acopio
rough.
oficiales de la Cruz Roja. La naturaleza es prácticamente omnipotente y nos dio una demostración con esto. Como mexicanos tenemos que estar unidos. El gobierno quiere todo para ellos.
But anyway, so all right, guys, I think we're gonna start wrapping this bad boy up. Again, my apologies for today's kind of like somber video in a sense. I had to talk about it. I had to bring it up. I couldn't just leave it on the table like that. At the very least, I wanted to show you guys what happened, talk about it a little bit, and go from there. And then just pray and hope that everything works out for the best for all those individuals affected out there right now. So again, guys, before I head out of here, I want to give you guys a quick reminder that, again, if you ever need any kind of information, or you want to watch videos on what it is to live out here in Mexico and all that good stuff, please check out my channel. Check out the rest of the channel there, where you guys can go on ahead and see all kinds of videos that I have up for you guys, talking about all kinds of subjects and what it's like to live out here and all that good stuff. I've been out here for over 7 years and gone through a lot of adventures and have a lot to teach you guys and to show you guys. All right, so please check that out. Also, again, check out my website. On my website, got again all kinds of tons of free information. So again, if you're looking into traveling or moving to Mexico, please check out my website. All the links are down below, but again, on my website, just free information, all kinds of tons of free information. If you want to go on ahead and help the show, there are many ways that you can help the show. You can send a donation here or there. I usually don't ever say this, but like, again, in a moment like today, if you're going to send me a $5 or $1 or whatever you're going to send me, don't send it to me. Send it to the Red Cross or send it to whoever, is recollecting things out there for the devastation in Mexico. They need it more than I do at the moment. So please. But anyways, long story short, all the links are there. If you want to set up a consultation with me, you want to have a conversation with me one-on-one, talking about whatever it is, answering whatever questions you might have about living abroad, living in Mexico, please, again, you can find all that information on my website. And again, the best way to really support the show is you can buy a t-shirt, check out the shop, all the links are down below. You got all kinds of shirts, and we're working on more merchandise for the store. And last but not least, guys, don't forget, as soon as I'm done here, we're going to go live on my other channel, where, again, we talk about all kinds of other stuff, okay? My other channel is just talking about all kinds of stuff, all right? And today we're going to be talking about, well, you guys can figure it out. The government shutdown, all right? I don't even know what the hell's going on out there per se. But it seems like, it's been like 2 weeks plus, since it's shut down. So you already know. We're going to talk about that. And if you guys want to join me for some hilarity, again, after such a somber episode today, after such a, again, the video that we had to do today, the live stream we had to do today, you want to brighten up and you want to laugh a little bit, have some fun, please go on ahead and join me on my other channel. I'm going to go on ahead and put a link to that in the chat for anyone that's interested. There's also a link in the description and in the comment section. And that's it, guys. We're going to just head out of here. So I really, really hope, that today's video, shed some more light on what's going on out there in Veracruz and other parts of Mexico. Again, a good majority of Mexico is being affected by this, as other people in the chat were also saying, parts of the USA have been affected by this. So again, right now, a lot of weather situations happening, all over the place. You got to remember that the USA and Mexico are neighbors. So obviously, if there's a lot of devastating rain in northern Mexico, there's probably devastating rain in southern USA. Again, someone was mentioning about Sonora and things like that. Well, Arizona, New Mexico is right on the other side. So again, we know Baja California, California as well, many regions. A lot of times, the places like Texas and other areas on the Mississippi River, they're the ones that have a lot of devastation. So for some of you guys out there, this hits a little close to home because you guys know exactly what this feels like and what it's like and all that other stuff. And that, yeah, and that's it. You know what I mean? Again, for some people in the USA, very recently, in the last couple years, you guys have also been dealing with stuff. I remember the hurricane that hit the Appalachian area, and it looked just like this, and it still hasn't recovered, and so on and so forth. And again, Mother Nature is beautiful and amazing, but it must be respected. And again, it can come at you like a freight train, and it comes at you, when you least expect it. And nature is deadly. Nature is destructive. So again, that's why we gotta have a more of a symbiotic relationship with nature, instead of trying to fight nature. You gotta live with it. So again, this is one of those moments where nature basically pushed back, and it was not pretty to say the least. So all right, guys, we're going to wrap this bad boy up. I really, really, really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. I know this is not everybody's cup of tea. Some of you guys just want to, hang out with me and talk about other subjects and things like that. And we will, next week we'll go get back to normal, get back to business. But today I had to talk about this because, well, I had to. If I don't do it, who's gonna do it, right? So it is what it is. All right. So with that being said, guys, I really appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you guys in about 30 minutes on the other channel. All right, and we'll go from there. All right. So again, thank you so much. Love you guys. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Bye, guys. Thoughts and prayers